Good to see you, Jay, Sarah. Right, we'll get started in just a minute. Let some people come in last minute. You can see my slide. Perfect, getting some nods. That's a good sign. Thanks, everyone. Thumbs up, perfect. Thank you. Okay, we've got a pretty full agenda, so we'll probably just start going. And anyone who can join in last minute, we'll just catch them up. But thank you everyone for taking the time to attend our volunteer forum for February. Really appreciate you all making the time to come. We've got, as I mentioned, we've got quite a full agenda today. So lucky you guys, lots of good stuff to be shared. So just to cover what we're going through today, we've got a strategy update from Tally, Quality Learning Hub update from Gareth, and then us and Peanut will give an update on what's going on in our team. And then we're going to break out for a discussion, which we sent a few questions ahead of time, but we'll delve deeper into those later on for a little discussion. Then we'll reconvene at the end for a group discussion where we'll kind of talk about what we discussed in our little group. So we'll get started with Tally straight away on the strategy. If you would, do you want me to click through the slides for you, Tally?
Yeah, you might as well, Sam. Thank you.
Perfect.
Just to make sure.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Really great to see you. I was going to say Happy New Year, although towards the end of February it seems a little late to be saying that, but I've probably not spoken to a lot of you so far this year. So I hope your 2024 is going well so far. As Sam said, I'm just going to take a few minutes just to give you an update on strategy. She's jumping ahead there.
I know.
So you will hopefully recall that we launched our 2030 strategy back in the dim distant past of January 2020. It was at the time we split it into 3 phases with a lot of detail, particularly obviously focused on phase 1, which really was about sort of our internal foundations and the core membership and professional body products and making sure that they were fit to support us as we went through into the latter stages of the strategy. It was great timing launching a 10-year strategy in January 2020. I'm sure I don't need to tell you all that the world kind of changed quite rapidly after that, which we then needed to sort of take account of in the strategy. And the first phase that was originally due to finish at the end of 2022, we actually took the decision with the Board of Trustees to extend it by a further year. So phase 1 actually came to an end at the end of 2023. Okay, Sam, if you go on to the next one.
Yep. Can you see it?
It's not changed for me. Oh, that's it.
There, yeah, it might just be a bit slow.
So this just kind of summarises the progress that we made in the first phase, which, considering the external factors that we had to deal with, we were really, really pleased with. The items that are in red are the few bits that we actually didn't get to do, or we made the conscious decision actually to delay until later stages, either because our focus was on navigating through the pandemic and the implications of that, or because actually when we got into the detail, it was the wrong order to do things in and we needed to get some more of the foundational things in place first. The really key ones there are in relation to our digital infrastructure. I know as our professional network volunteers, you are very well aware some of the limitations that we have with our current CRM and IT setup. Unfortunately, kicking off a major project like that in the midst of a global pandemic was not the right thing to do, but we are well underway with that project now, which is great news and long overdue. We also were going to have a look at our L&D offering, but until we had identified and updated the profession map, or our competence framework as it was called, we weren't in a position to do that, so that got pushed back. Similarly, with the body of knowledge, we couldn't really write a body of knowledge without actually having updated the profession map, and also sort of re-establishing ourselves as part of the UK quality infrastructure kind of took a back seat. We were more focused, as I say, navigating that first phase. But overall, we still managed to do, we think, an awful lot and make a huge amount of progress. Sam, if you click into the next slide. So this next slide just shows you what some of that progress has resulted in. The graph over on the left of the screen shows our global registers. So that includes the CQI register, the IRCA register and IRCA Japan's register. The columns in blue are the actual results and the columns in red were the forecast that we made for the first phase in the strategy. You can see obviously there is quite a big dip after 2018, 2019. That was a planned for dip as the revisions to varying ISO standards, most notably 9001, kind of washed through our system. We always projected to lose a significant number of auditors at that point who chose not to transition to the newer versions of the standards. But pleasingly, you can see that our registers have recovered at a far greater rate than we had originally planned. And in part, that's due to improved retention rates, but particularly due to really strong recruitment for new members. So the graph on the right there just shows our growth in new members. Particularly significant is the growth in the blue column, which is in CQI membership. Sam, if you can move us on.
Yeah.
So over the last couple of years, so through sort of the latter part of 2022 and throughout 2023, we've worked with the Board of Trustees to really review our progress in phase one, have a look at sort of the external context for us, our internal context, and to see what that means for the next phases in the strategy. At the start, when we first created the strategy back in sort of 2018, 2019, we identified 4 key drivers that we needed to take account of. First being technology, second, value of quality management and how it's perceived, skills and resources, and then also the relevance of the CQI as sort of individual sort of personal values changed and objectives changed when it came to membership bodies. These we felt over the last couple of years are still relevant. Indeed, obviously the technology piece has accelerated due to the pandemic and the adoption of digital working. But all of them were still relevant as we still needed to take account of. Internally, our 3 key challenges are in relation to our IT stack and the infrastructure. The IRCA offer, if you think back to the previous graph, our IRCA membership, we still are getting new members joining IRCA, but it is relatively stagnant, and we need to make sure that our auditing offer, both from a membership perspective, but also from a training perspective, is relevant for today and for the quality profession of the future and the assurance needs of the future, particularly against that digital context. And then growth for us, sort of an unwritten objective within the first phase. We would have a clearly defined sort of growth strategy coming out of it and coming into this phase. And we've not got to that place as yet, which we'll come on to see shortly. So taking account of those things, we then have our strategy for the next phase. Now, this is obviously a very, very top level summary of it. I don't have a huge amount of time to talk to you about this, as I could probably fill the rest of this session and several more with going into detail into our strategy. So if anybody wants to have a chat to me in more detail about it, by all means get in touch. I'm more than happy to do that. But you will see broadly what we've done is structured it. So from the left-hand side is just looking at the sort of the phases that, or the progress we made in phase one, the 5 key themes that we looked at within phase one. Then moving into this phase, we've actually made a change and have broken it down now into sort of 3 key themes focused on coming from the bottom upwards there, the CQI ourselves and things we need to do internally, quality professional as individuals, and then quality management as a practice and beyond the scope of the quality profession itself. We have our visions for those 3 themes or 3 subjects for change, and then ultimately it's how we then deliver our charter mission and vision. Sam, if you just click to the next slide. So this is the really important column for us as an organisation, as these are our critical success factors for the next phase in the strategy. overarching sort of change in directions that we're really focused on is much more of a sort of we're calling it a top-down versus a bottom-up approach. Phase 1 of the strategy, and even before that, we took what we called the bottom-up approach, is where we really focused on attracting individuals within the quality profession to join the organisation and to join the CQI and to progress through our grades. What we're slightly shifting the focus going into this next phase to be much more of a top-down approach, whereby we're building those corporate relationships with employers, with senior quality leaders, and then working through them to bring individuals into membership. Now, that's not to say that we're turning our back on individuals at all, far from it actually, but we're just trying to leverage those corporate, more senior relationships into then developing and growing the profession and our membership. And in order to do that, we're looking, as I said, within the quality management and broader. So you can see up there, the top one there being about the corporate offer, looking at our quality capability and culture within organisations, and we're looking to develop a tool over the next few years. Non-quality professional assets. So one of the key pieces of feedback that we had as we were doing that review is that actually quality professionals need help within their organisations, as the actual act of quality management, if you like, is getting diversified out into organisations and out into sort of more process owners. We need to develop a suite of tools and assets to help them. And then the advocacy programme, one of the key messages that's come across very clearly to us is around how we can help the profession to advocate the value of quality and making sure that organisations and, as I say, non-quality professionals really understand and appreciate the value that quality management and quality professionals can bring to them. Then looking at quality professionals as individuals themselves, career pathways and that learning and development activity, and making sure that we're supporting the profession for the future and equipping them with the skills and the tools that they're going to need. And I'm not going to say a huge amount about that because Gareth's going to go on and talk about that in a bit more detail and the steps that we're already taking in that regard. To underpin all of that, we need to make sure that we have an effective an efficient CPD system so that it's very easy for quality professionals to maintain their CPD, maintain their knowledge and skills, particularly in the ever-changing and accelerating changing world that we live in at the moment. I mentioned earlier looking at our assurance and our audit offer, particularly in a digital world. How do we make sure that we have the right products and services to support that? And then looking at quality as a business partner, and this is a phrase that's been around for a while. You'll have heard it, I'm sure, when people are talking about HR professionals or finance professionals, that they're the business partner, but it really is helping quality professionals to shift the perception of them in their organisations to being an enabler for good, to be part of the conversation rather than the afterthought when something goes wrong within their businesses. And then finally, looking at the CQI itself, that digital transformation piece is absolutely critical to us and is going to be a key focus for us over the next couple of years. It will be our major strategic priority as an organisation. Alongside that is looking at our growth strategy and our brand identity as well. Making sure that, you know, we're very clear as to when somebody comes to the CQI, it's recognisable, they understand what we're about, and we're representing the profession in the appropriate way as well. Looking at our own internal business intelligence, like a lot of organisations, we have so much data within our business, but we're not very good at extracting it and analysing it and using it. So alongside the digital transformation, we're really going to look at our business intelligence and making sure that we're using it to make really good, informed, evidence-based decisions. Again, also like a lot of organisations, is looking at an ESG strategy. We do have ESG is a key consideration for us internally, but it's also making sure we've got a defined strategy and also how we can then roll that out across the profession and help our members with that and help organisations with setting that themselves. And underpinning all of this is making sure that we have the right skills and capability and capacity to be able to deliver all of this. We've got a lot ahead of us. That's very much a whistle-stop tour of it, but there's a lot of work for us to do internally. There's going to be some new skills and competence that we're going to need as an organisation. So it's making sure that at each step of the way, we don't overpromise and underdeliver. We don't attempt to start doing a project without having the right resources in place, and we don't begin a new initiative without having the appropriate capability and competence. So that's a real whistle-stop tour of the next phase of our strategy. As I say, I'm more than happy. I can answer some questions now, but I do know we're quite short on time and I don't want to dominate the entire conversation today. But I'm more than happy to have a chat to anybody or answer any questions now or later.
Thanks, Tally. Oh, Steve?
Yeah, just one, if you don't mind. Looking at the corporate members and partners, has that increased over the last year or two? Or is that relatively stable? It has.
It has increased. We've seen a bit of churn, mainly because we've had a few corporates that have actually merged, and we've had a couple, namely like British Volt, for example, that have unfortunately gone bankrupt, so have dropped out. But yeah, we're now up to we have 45 formal arrangements with corporates, and a really healthy pipeline of new ones that are coming on board this year already. So yes, it is growing. And what we're also seeing, Steve, really, which is really pleasing, is that people are joining because of what we are doing now. They're seeing what we're doing, particularly in relation to the profession map and the CPD and the learning and the research that we're putting out there. People are coming to us. We don't have to go out now and make a really hard case. It's much easier now to bring them on board. They want to be part of the conversation, part of what we're doing.
Okay, thanks for that, Tally. Thanks.
Thanks. Alan, did you have your hand up?
I was just going to say, I don't want to take time to discuss it just now, but the audit and assurance offer part, there are some changes in how the civil service is doing some stuff just now that it might be worth picking up. If somebody's kind of looking at that, to give me a shout and we can talk about it.
That's really handy, thank you. Yeah, realistically, we're probably not going to start looking at that until certainly next year, possibly 2026 in any great detail, but I'll definitely come back to you on that. Yeah, that's really useful.
Come back to me well before then, because I won't be a civil servant in certainly another 6 months. So
okay, I will do that. Thank you. And I've seen Sarah's asked a question in the chat as regards to ESG strategy. Does it include a focus on diversity? How do we connect, attract and retain members from all strands of diversity? That's a brilliant question. I wish I had the answer and could wave a magic wand. I agree. I think, yes, to start with ESG, it absolutely has to focus on diversity. And it's not just about diversity from a sort of a cosmetic perspective. We've got to think about it in terms of diversity of thought, diversity of background, but also the new sort of emerging areas of quality management that are coming into play. So much more focus on data, data analysts and so on. And it's great that, you know, all of this AI is springing up, but making sure that that's assured properly and that we have people with the right skill set to do that. So yeah, absolutely. That's for us kind of where we're scratching our heads a little bit. Setting an ESG strategy for the CQI itself, that's probably relatively straightforward, but actually helping the profession think about it is going to be a much bigger challenge.
Great, thanks, Tally. I think that's all the questions for now, but as Tally said, obviously we can pick up any questions offline. Moving on then to Gareth and the Quality Learning Hub. Gareth, you want to take it away?
Yeah, hi everybody. Some of you will know that a couple of years ago we trialled some e-learning courses, Quality 4.0 courses. One's an introduction and one's a guide to 8 principles. That was our pilot for e-learning, and as of just over a month ago, we rolled out the full kind of e-learning offering. Well, I say the full offering, is probably not the full offering. There's much more to come, but we're calling it the Quality Learning Hub. You can access it from the members area of the CQI website. Most of you probably will already have an account set up, but anybody that's a relatively new member, the first time you click through, it will create an account for you, and in there you can manage your own learning. And you can see through on here that we've got Profession Map self-assessment tool. You can see that in the nav bar, and the learning plan, and there's a course store. And I don't want to go into a huge amount of detail on that today because I'm doing a webinar on it tomorrow, which you'll then be able to watch back anyway. What I want to focus on today is really more the implications of all of this for our volunteers and our volunteer networks, because there's a lot of scope for getting involved, and a lot of potential for networks to use this platform and take advantage of it. So this is the landing page, but if you click through, Sam, see the next slide. So one of the key things is that all of the content that will be delivered through the Quality Learning Hub can be kind of searched and scrutinized by anybody in the open access part of our website at store.quality.org. So anybody, member or non-member, can search our content. So click the next thing, because I think I've done a clever thing with the images. So this is the landing page for the store. You can see on here first the little red button allows you to search all courses, and then if we were actually live in the store, you'd be able to scroll down. You can see these square tiles which have a number of categories. The first one is Profession Map self-assessment tool. There's a course in there for non-members particularly, but members as well, to kind of orient yourself around the self-assessment tool and how to use it. Then we've got here you can see assurance context as well. These are the areas of the profession map. So there's also be governance, improvement and leadership down there. And click next one, Sam. Within each of these areas, there are e-learning courses and there are CQI webinar recordings. Now, if you go through the process of the self-assessment tool, one of the things it can do is give you recommendations and point you to specific courses. But if you just want to go in and browse, and you can find these things, say e-learning is generally more formal, mostly at the moment is bought in, but as you saw from what Tally was saying, we're going to be developing more assets for our members as e-learning courses, and also for non-quality professionals, which will be delivered through here. But if you click on CQI webinar recordings, which Sam,
oh, sorry,
there you go. Then you'll see all the kind of listed webinars that we are putting in that are categorized in these broad categories, and some will appear in more than one place because they're relevant to more than one competence area. Now, most of these have come from our branches and our SIGs doing events. There are some central CQI ones in there. We've got about 40 at the moment, and there will be more in due course that we'll be putting up there. So Sam, if you can click on. So each one has a description and there's a price. Now, if you're a non-member, you would pay to access them. From member, it's free. There's always differential pricing in any of the courses and webinars and videos that will be available in store. But in this example, this is what a non-member would see, and then they'll go through a checkout process to access it. So we're bringing this content to a wider range of people. Up to now, the webinars, if you don't attend it, then your only other chance to see what that webinar was is in the video section in the members area of the website, and quite frankly, people weren't viewing these things. If you click on Sam, what we've seen since we launched it is a significant growth in people watching the webinars. So what I'm trying to bring out today is that this is going to be the new home for our branch and SIG webinar recordings. It gives visibility, it gives searchability, it places them in the context of other pieces of content as well, but it adds additional functionality. You'll be able to include downloads like slides, so that anybody who wasn't there when the webinar happened will still be able to get that more full experience and all the additional content. We can put discussion forums in there so that people can pose questions and have them answered and have discussions amongst themselves. So again, if you're not live in the webinar, you'll still be able to have some degree of interactivity with other people checking in to this content. We have feedback forms, so again, we're still able to gauge people's reaction to it in the way that we can with live, and that also, completion of a feedback form allows you to get a CPD certificate. So again, people accessing this will get the full value that they didn't necessarily get if they missed the original webinar and watched it on catch up. We're seeing increased traffic, as I said already. It's only been a month. There is a need to charge non-members for this, partly because we want to protect the profession map self-assessment tool, avoid people being able to access that for free who aren't members. It is a member benefit, so they can either buy access to it by buying the course, or they pay to have some other piece of content and then they can access it. So we do need to charge non-members for this content, but again, it's reinforcing the value that our members, our networks deliver, and that our members get from their membership. You can click on Sam. So this is an indication just after the first month of the most viewed content. So number one is profession map self-assessment. You don't need to do that course to go through it, but yes, I mean, that's the number one. But then you can see we've got webinar at number 2, an efficient and effective audit journey. And then we've got aligning quality with content strategy, non-conformances don't matter. There's a learning from excellence webinar. There's one on transforming organizational culture, remote audit, and the quality of leadership. These are pieces of content that were developed and delivered by branches and SIGs until now, have really not had much life after the event, and are now being found by people and being viewed by people. So additional value for members, and additional impact for yourselves as volunteers in what you do. If you can click on, Sam, please. There are lots of future possibilities. So, for example, we're looking at managing volunteer inductions and refreshers and training through the hub, because we can just build a program of videos, written content, get people signing things, doing training through the hub at their own pace. We're looking at delivering webinars through the Quality Learning Hub, so you would sign up for it through the store and access and watch the webinar live through the Learning Hub, and then be able to see the recording thereafter and downloads later in the future. There is class functionality, so you can create effectively a course and enroll a cohort of people and manage that cohort. And that could be particularly useful for things like CQI study groups. So all the resources, discussions, assignments, anything you might want to do, you'd be able to do through the Learning Hub. We can upload pretty much any resources we want in there. So we talked about videos and e-learning. We can upload reports. We could be selling, oh, I spelled it wrong, but it could be selling monographs through there, which might be another route for networks such as PQG to be monetizing their activity. And we see it as the primary location for our learning resources, bringing everything together, making it searchable, and making it much more discoverable. There are implications, of course, for this. People who are presenting will be bringing intellectual property to the party, and we will need to make sure we've got the appropriate consent. We already do kind of check with that anyway with webinars, but we'll need to be particularly rigorous, and also there'll be training that's required from volunteers who want to be using the platform and putting stuff up there, perhaps running cohorts of study groups or discussion groups or whatever through it. But we will address that in due course. If you can click on, Sam. So how can you help at this point in time? This is such early days, you know, we're trying to walk before we run. We're only a month into having launched this, but as networks, as volunteers, if you can tell people about the Quality Learning Hub, get them using that would be great. Telling them about the store and how they can access things, telling them about the Profession Map self-assessment tool, so they can really get value from the work we've done. There's over 1,000 detailed competence statements in there, much more depth than the previously released profession map, and there's a learning plan for managing recommendations and learning. So please, by all means, tell everybody about that, but also think about how your network could possibly use it. And I'm happy to have discussions with any of you about that, and think about any past webinars or content that you have that might be good to put on there. We know we've got hundreds of past webinars We're trying to identify those that tie in most closely with profession map self-assessment recommendations, but there may be some great webinars that you think would really benefit from being on there and would be popular. So let me know about those. And I think all of this is going to drive members to the Learning Hub. It's going to add value to people's membership, and it's going to really deliver that CPD step change that Tali was talking about in the strategy. It's going to be one of the key planks of us delivering that. I don't need to tell you how difficult it is at times to find content sometimes on our website and our platforms. This is one of our big steps towards remedying that. And, you know, we've got further plans for how things are personalized and how the experience is improved. But for now, this is already, I think, quite a big step forward. I think that might be it, Sam.
Let's check. Yep.
That is
great.
So yes, so that's a quick dash. Happy to take any questions if there are any.
We've got a nice from Andy in the chat. Thanks for that. Any questions for Gareth at this moment? I think we're all good.
Cool.
Perfect. I'm quickly going to stop sharing and reshare just because we had a little bit of an update, and then Lisa's going to continue. So let me just get her slide open here. Bear with me. Great. All right, Lisa, it's just coming up now. Takes a little bit of time. But yeah, as Gareth said, he's doing a webinar on it. It's in a couple days. So if you want more information on the Quality Learning Hub, attend that webinar. I think you can register in our event calendar for that. But Lisa, do you want to take it away with some housekeeping updates?
Thanks, Sam. Hi, everyone. Just a few updates. This is the first forum of the year. I just wanted to share a few reminders and let you know of any recent changes that we've made to the volunteers area of the website. Just to let you know, within the volunteer profile, a little reminder for anyone who's new to volunteering, but please do update your contact details within the volunteering area, or within the members area, really. Your preferred contact email will be the email that we send any communications to you regarding your volunteering. So if you've changed jobs or you just you wish to use a different email address, please do review that. Another contact detail as a volunteer that is really important for you to update, particularly if you're going to be traveling around for volunteering, is the emergency contact. If you do get the opportunity, please could you add a contact so we know who to reach out to if anything was to happen when you're volunteering on behalf of the CQI on site somewhere. You can also log your hours within the volunteering profile area. This enables us to get a clearer picture of how much time that you are putting in, and also what activities you're doing in order to inform our resourcing and how we can support you going forward. So if you do get the opportunity, please do log your hours. Thank you to those that have been logging out hours. It's been really insightful to get that information from you. Please do check if you've done if you've signed the volunteer agreement and done the GDPR course, that it's reflected on your record as well. Within the volunteer resources page, there is volunteer frequently asked questions within that. You can access typical questions that we get from our networks, things around network members and how we process data. You can also see questions around tech-based frequently asked questions, as well as any events-based frequently asked questions. So that's within the volunteer resources page. There's just a link to the right of that page, and it will open up this FAQs. We have the volunteer newsletter coming up next month. It will be going out towards the end of March. We'll have a few updates in there, including an update from Mike Turner, and also a CQI kind of staff directory. A few of you have asked us to get a clearer picture of who to contact within the CQI staff team, for what reasons. So we'll kind of put a brief of people that you regularly like to contact, for example, the membership team, the policy teams, and we'll let you know how you can reach out to them as well. I also wanted to share with you around the AGMs, so just to thank you for all of the networks that have already organised their AGMs. For those that haven't, please remember to do them by the end of March. This will help to inform us on your plans for the upcoming year, and also to inform the initial meeting that the trustees have in the first quarter as well. We also have World Quality Week that will be announced on the 29th of February. The theme is quality from compliance to performance. And this is really, we'll add more information within the next Volunteer newsletter, but there's a short brief that I've got to read out for you from the marketing team. So it says, our organizations operate in complex and dynamic risk landscapes where maintaining operational resilience is as important as reinventing business models, products and services. Many organizations are grappling with skills shortages and their fragile global supply chains. Digital transformation, particularly artificial intelligence, is set to offer rich performance rewards, but also significant risks. The sustainability agenda requires a rethink of product, service, and process design. With that in mind, this year we'll shine a light on how quality management principles and methods allow organizations to respond to extraordinary times, creating a culture of compliance while also supporting innovation and agility through a culture of learning and improvement. So that's essentially the theme that we'll be covering for World Quality Week this year. I also wanted to update you on the event brief form. We've had this for a while now, but we are going to start kind of having this as a standard process where you can put all the event details in one area that's accessible to the team. And that way we can get all the information about the event at once, and then we can carry on the process from that point, updating the event onto the events calendar and sending promotional emails out to members. And we can also reach out to speakers on your behalf to get them to sign the speakers agreement. So please do use this form when you have an event upcoming and you want to let us know about it. It covers all the things that we would need about the event, and you can scan this QR code to save it as a link, as a quick link for you in the future. We are also developing a branch activity sheet. So this has come after we've had some feedback, particularly with our branches who kind of don't have a clearer picture of what other networks are planning, where there could be opportunities for collaboration. So we want to create a smart sheet which has an overview of all branch activities, something that's accessible to branch officers as well. And you can go into that smart sheet and update your upcoming plans for the year, and other networks will be able to see that as well. And this way, there's a clearer picture of what's going on across our networks. We can identify clashes when similar events are being held at the same time, or even opportunities to collaborate on those similar interests. So we're really excited about releasing that. It's worked very well for the SIG chairs, so we'll now be rolling it out for the branches. We also have an update on the events calendar that's coming up. We're currently reviewing ways to make it easier to review events that are going on. Yeah, the marketing team are working really hard to review this, but this will be coming up towards probably in the middle of the year. Please look out for it, but it will help that the events calendar will be a little clearer to navigate, and will highlight what the networks are really doing, sort of highlight network events, and provide kind of a clearer outline of when it's a network event or when it's a CQI-led event or a membership event. And I think that is me, Sam, if you want to take control. Great.
You're on mute, Sam. Sorry, I adjusted my screen and then it blocked the microphone, so I couldn't unmute myself. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, a few quick updates from me, and then we'll move on to the discussion groups. But so on behalf of our content team, there's a bit of a CAP call out. So our content advisory panel, who supports the CQI executive in the development and review of our content, are looking for anyone who might be interested in peer reviewing content on an ad hoc basis when we require an expert's eye. So if you are interested at all, you can let me know by email or the team's email, and we can put you in touch with Tracy and the content team to get involved with that. Additionally, I did reach out to our chairs about reporting their network activities emission from 2023. We'd love if you had a spare minute to complete this form. It's only a couple questions. If you've been involved with any network committees, this will just help us provide some valuable insights on our carbon footprint as an organization, and your input is greatly appreciated on this. So I just provided a QR code you can scan to complete the form. If you are able to do it, if you could do it by the 1st of March, that would be amazing. And we do just really want to start thinking about the impact that our networks activities have on emissions throughout the year. So making this something that we are always keeping a note of and keeping track of, rather than just something that we record at the end of the year once a year. So we'll probably be looking at updating our network activity smart sheets that Lisa kind of mentioned, to incorporate emissions reporting in there with our network activities for non-events, just so we can always keep thinking about how that is an impact and not just something we're asked at the end of the year to think back on. So thanks for that. And the next thing I had a quick update on, as you guys have been kind of informed about many times throughout the past few months, is the Future of Our Branches project. But what I just wanted to highlight was, for those of you who attended our last volunteer forum in December, you would obviously hear us mention this, but as I understand, this has kind of been floating around for a while now. I just wanted to give you some progress and where we're at. So most of you would have been involved with the volunteer focus groups that PNET team ran back in September, and your input and feedback has been greatly appreciated there. We realized as a result of those that we needed to gather even more feedback to understand the members' journey and their understanding, to determine what they seek to gain from membership and if a local branch can provide them with those development opportunities. So with that being said, we need to identify what members would like provided for them at a local level and what the barriers for taking part in those might be or are. So we want to start collecting feedback from members who already engage with the CQI, members who have never engaged with events or local groups and who might want to, and also prospective or new members as well. So some of the ways we intend to do this are by engaging with them through many different membership streams that we've got available within the CQI. So for example, we'll look to social media, our newsletters, member webinars, forums, as well as corporate partner roundtable, and directly speaking with our members as well via phone calls. So we'll be looking to gathering this feedback within the next month so that we are able to gain more insight into what they want and help us structure our branches and part of this review moving forward. We will still be looking for volunteer input as we navigate through this project though, so thank you in advance for your feedback and input, and that starts in this forum with our breakout rooms. Quite a good segue into the next, into our discussion. So we wanted to kind of have a discussion in the breakout room about our network governance following the absence of the membership council. And so we want to hear your thoughts on some of these bigger questions. So Lisa will be putting us into breakout rooms. We'll probably discuss for about 10